So when Ryan was diagnosed, and we contacted the Porterville, California Foundation right away, Chris did, my husband, within about 24 hours, we got a phone call back. And this woman called and said, "Congratulations on the birth of your son, and I am your new mentor mom." I knew I was not alone. And then I started crying when she told me that she lived 10 minutes away from me. So then I knew for sure, okay, I'm not going to go through this alone. And her son is about 5 years older than Ryan. So having a mentor, having somebody who's ahead of you in the journey, whether it's disease specific or just another special needs mom who is ahead of you, who, you know, has come to a place of acceptance and positivity and who has risen up, you know, from the muck and the mire of it all, is also, I think, a great practice to have. And, you know, within We Are Brave Together, we have plenty of moms who are seasoned, savvy, experienced, positive moms who could mentor some of the moms younger in their journey. So it's important to have support and support groups, but not just to have it be a place where we vent and boo-hoo and, you know, play the victim. And I don't mean that harshly. I will always validate everyone's emotions. I will always validate. And I will say the thing that maybe you're afraid to say. I've done that in my writing. I've done that, you know, when I've spoken. But I will also always encourage you to rise up and find ways to rise up. And certainly many of the tools that we've mentioned today do help you rise up out of the grief and the anger and resentment and bitterness that can really take over if we let it, because there's just so much going on in our everyday lives. So I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that, a mentor.
So powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, and we were just talking offline about the fact that these basic practices that we all have in place, the eating healthy and managing our sugar intake and getting exercise when we can.
Yes.
And not obviously being perfect at any of it.
No.
But really, there are things to do that it doesn't seem when you're in the depth of a crisis that you want to do them. All you want is a bowl of ice cream and a movie.
Yes.
And yet what happens, and what's really, I think we are here to attest to, is that we live a different life than the mom down the street. And we have to be more aware of setting up ourselves for success. And so it takes a different kind of effort. It's not any worse or better than anybody else around us. It really is allowing us to make a decision that might not be the self-comfort that Jess was talking about at first, but what ends up happening is if you do it often enough, that's what you choose. That's where you go. If I've had a really bad day with Megan, or I had an IEP, I find IEPs the most stressful because I worry about it for months in advance, and then we have the IEP and it's confirming all my worst fears. Every day, I know that tomorrow I'm going to wake up and I don't have to have an IEP. And and I'm going to go back to what makes me feel good. So whether it's a gratitude journal, or it's connecting with somebody who is on this path longer, or my next door neighbor. And she was able to remind me about not going down the rabbit hole, but keeping myself up. And all of these pieces seem, because we all have older kids, we're not in the depths of it. We are here to tell you that if you can use what our experience is, and if you can say, okay, I'm willing to try just one day, 1 week, pick up the phone, write something down, write a gratitude list, do the brain dump, whatever it is. If we can urge you after this kitchen chat to make one difference, one change in your life.
That's all you need.
That's how it starts. And that's how we
Absolutely.
all got to a place where we feel, most days, not every day,
No.
more
Not
people,
every day.
but it's really an opportunity. If you've got little ones and it's really hard, we've all been there. But that's when the tools start. That's when you get to use them.
Yeah, it's really powerful. It's so true. You know, I think that when you're speaking to is like maybe all the different tools that we've mentioned, and again, you might have your own thoughts or beliefs about them or things that you've read or heard, and like, I don't have time for that. Again, the negative stories. But if you just make one small shift, it definitely starts, you know, it's like a catalyst to more shifts. So it's not like we're not saying change your whole diet, or we're not saying, you know, meditate for a half hour every day. We're just saying try one of them and try it on, see if it fits. If you like it, stay with it. Try another tool if you don't like it. And again, but being, you know, again, being mindful that these are all practices, and we've practiced them for a long time. We can attest to them. They work. They're, you know, they're free. They're available to everybody. And so I think that, you know, once you start to feel those good feels, you're going to be like on board with it and recognize that, you know, you have the power to change your life. That's the beauty of it, is you can only change you. We can't change our kiddos. We can change our response to them. We can change how we view the world. And that's everything. Our perception of how we view the world is really just the, you know, foundation of our life. Because if I can look out the window and it might be raining out, but I can see the beauty in that, because it's like, oh, there, you know, it's watering my flowers and it's doing that. It's just sometimes just shifting that picture, just even ever so slightly. It doesn't have to be like, you know, the most monumental thing. Like, that's why I said just break it down into small, little more manageable chunks, and you're going to get there, I promise you. And you have tons of support, and your group is an amazing thing. And
Thank you.
So proud of you for doing that.
And one last thing, we were talking about it, is that if your child isn't sleeping overnight, and I mentioned the sleep earlier, take a nap.
Yeah.
Give yourself a break. It doesn't, sometimes the grocery shopping doesn't get done because you need your sleep. And sometimes 4 hours of sleep is enough for the day. But part of it is we have to give ourselves our own gifts, because we can look and it's harder than we thought it was going to be.
Yes.
And so if we give ourselves the gifts, if we give ourselves a nap when we want, when we're desperately exhausted and we still have grocery shopping to do, or we still have work we have to do, but we can take 20 minutes, it becomes something that inspires you, that feels good for you.
Without guilt.
Yes.
No guilt.
That's
no
right.
guilt.
Zero guilt.
I just want to say that, you know, these little shifts, these little moments that we take for ourselves to really build in a tank of strength for life stress. We cannot feel guilty about that. Taking a few minutes for myself, taking an hour to take a yoga class or go for a walk outside and just breathe in the sunshine. We cannot feel guilty. It's false guilt. You did not do anything wrong. What you're doing is helping yourself. And you don't want to burn out because you're taking care of so many people. You have to take care of yourself.
You got to put the oxygen mask on first.
Absolutely.
I didn't recognize, you know, when you were always like, what is that? Why do you do that? But it's so true. It's just like a simple little thing, because if you aren't, you know, if you can't give from an empty well, right? So if you're not filled up in some capacity, even if you're just recharging your battery, whatever that may be. And I found, like, I'm a good power napper. I can take a 15-minute, 20-minute nap and I feel like, you know, ready to go for the next shift or whatever I need.
Yes.
So that's, again, just being mindful of whatever works for you. So
Thank you so much for tuning in today and letting us share our life and our practices and some tools that we strongly believe in that will help you. And just know that we know the up and down and the stress and the highs and lows. And even though all our journeys are different and our kids are different, we share the ache and we share the grief and the stress, and we want you to have more joy and have more peace, and really hope that these tools today can be helpful. And I'll be sending out to everyone in We Are Brave Together this wonderful handout that Lisa Graziano put together for the Dear Younger Me event. all on managing strategies for stress. So you'll be getting that to you in your email. Look for it. And thank you, Tina and Hillary,
Thank
so
you,
much for being here
Jessica.
today.
Yeah.
Really, really appreciate
Thank
it.
you, everybody, for listening.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in, and just, we see you, we think you're amazing, you are not alone, and you got
Absolutely.
this, yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thanks.